Let's talk about stacking money. I'm Justin Hitt with Sustainable Wealth Secrets. I have a special report I put together about my grandmother. My grandmother and grandfather, every paycheck bought U.S. savings bonds. In fact, they bought treasuries and U.S. savings bonds primarily. My grandfather was a nuclear physicist that worked for the Department of Navy, I think. And ultimately, they basically bought savings bonds. That's it. Now, most of these savings bonds had a small interest rate plus some inflation adjustment element to it. So basically, they dollar cost averaged thousands of savings bonds over their career and eventually gave them a pretty large volume of money. It paid for their retirement. It provided for them living near a city, and it was something that was very easy to do. This is what's called cash stacking. Now, there's two types of stacking that I want to share with you today. There are other types, but these are two most important. First one is regular and consistent investment. If you put aside 10 cents out of every dollar you earn, every time you earn $1 and you put it into a wealth account or a charitable account, and you just let that money grow, you will be shocked by how fast and how quick it goes. It is the behavior of paying yourself first that puts aside the stream of capital that allows you then to stack those funds and grow them. Now, that's a stacking of savings. The second thing I want to talk about is the stacking of incomes. When you can take one action and get paid multiple times, you've got paid for the initial action, and now you're stacking on top of that an additional income. Now, my example of that is all these special reports I've written. I'm looking over here. I've got special reports on increasing business-to-business profits, how to get profitable customers now, profit from quick reference measures, selling a comb to a monk is a story about sales opportunities, how to build your own profitable membership program. Some of these reports make no sense as far as their topics because they're kind of all over the place. However, each of these binders is the collection of notes, experiences, implementation, and activities over a period of time to cover a topic. I've owned a membership site or a paid newsletter on and off for many, many years. Sustainable Wealth Secrets is a paid newsletter that has a public element, which is the podcast, and then it has a private element, which is the coaching and print newsletter. So over the years, the concept of executing on that activity is really not that different than it was even 10 or 15 years ago. But essentially, I wrote down all my notes, my procedurals, my guides, my tips, everything, put it in a binder, and I use that as a starting point reference for future activities. So think about it this way. You're paid to research and execute on an idea. Maybe it's a project at work. Now, if you just go do that work and get paid, there's no residual value to that. It's done. So you go in, it's work for hire. You did the work, you got paid, and now you got to go back and do work again to get paid a second time. But what if you could go in, do the work, get paid, and then get paid a second, third, fourth, even a fifth time on your activity? Now, this happens in some individuals with a career. You go work for company A, you do a certain type of work for them, and then you go move along and work for company B and do a similar type of work that's built on the experience of the previous work, and then later company C, and you could do that linearly through a career. Yet you could also do it exponentially through either information or working as a consultant. So as a consultant, I've done many of these jobs. So I have Skyrocket Your Procurement career. Okay, I've helped several procurement managers get to six-figure positions very quickly using the Skyrocket Your Procurement career notes. Now, the first time I did it, I worked with somebody and we took career notes from a friend of mine, took career notes from my own experiences. I've hired career coaches. I put it all together. I gave them a step-by-step plan. They went and executed the plan. They got a great job. I interviewed them afterwards and got some feedback about what worked and what didn't, what was well, what wasn't well, what was specific to procurement, what was not specific to procurement. And then I used the filters of my own experience in logistics management and working with procurement professionals to update the report. Next person comes along, same thing. Next person comes along, same thing. Now I got a report that spans from 2015. Actually, it spans from 2006 to 2015. And ultimately, I did the work once. I revised it while I was moving along, but I got paid several times. I was just looking over here. I got one that's called Creating Wealth Now, where I've interviewed, maybe 50 to 100 individuals who are extremely wealthy. Some of them talked about Fibonacci sequences when investing. Some of them talked about boiler bands when investing. Others talked about how you can generate wealth by delivering value and service in the community. A couple more talked about how you can create intellectual property, whether it be software or write a report, and then introduce that to a specific marketplace. And it goes on and on and on. But I collect each of those little notes and put them together in one place. And now when I have a consulting client that says, hey, look, I'd like to build wealth now. I have a high income, but I don't have any wealth. I pull that binder off the shelf and I say, well, have you tried this? Tell me a little bit about your situation. Would this work for you? And then we start getting together a plan. I revise the manual and we move things forward. The examples go on, but the theme is cash stacking. Every time you earn money, you set some aside. Even before you get the money, automatically take it out of your paycheck, put it in your 401k, put it in a wealth account, build up a charitable savings account, set aside money for your kids' college before you know it's stacked up. But take some of that money and invest it in ideas and concepts that help you do the work once and get paid many times. So are you using an engineering journal, for example, when you do your job so that the next time you do a similar job or a similar project, you can build from the lessons learned of previous projects? I actually study project management and have managed projects varying from $1 million to $20 million in size. And at the end of every large, well-ran project, there's always a lessons learned. Well, if you learn something and you write it down and embrace it the next time around, your project's going to be even more successful the next time around. Now, I've worked on some IT projects where we might have 7 or 8 iterations of the project. So you might build a system, then you build 100 of the same system. You can take the lessons learned from building one to build the 100, and it goes faster. Well, the same concept works in your everyday life when it comes to building wealth in your household. And it means going forward with some kind of archival capture of best practices. Now, you don't have to do a podcast. You don't have to have a YouTube channel. You could just simply write a journal, which I've done for many, many projects. But you're not just writing a long form journal. You're actually segmenting ideas into very specific packages. And so that's why I have the different types of journals here, like Discover Sustainable Wealth is kind of an introductory program for those who are part of Sustainable Wealth Secrets. Increasing your sales and marketing results is the result of me selling and working with people who sell. There's notes from conferences. I've invested in education, for example. More Efficient Producer Now is about how to get more done each day of what matters. So we talk about wealth building. Well, are you doing the activities that build wealth? I could go on and do a 3-day event of this, except my allergies are going crazy and I've got a cough like every 5 seconds and my nose is all stuffed up. So I'm getting very nasally. So I'm going to wrap this up saying that cash stacking is the fastest way to start. It means every time you get paid, you put aside some money and then you build that up with compound interest. But the next thing you want to be looking at is how to stack your income so that every action or activity that you take creates some kind of artifact that then creates income again. And it could be intellectual property where you get a patent and you get royalties on the patent. It could be writing a report or training, for example. If you're doing a training event or speaking to a trade group, you could actually record that and use it to get additional speaking opportunities. It could be in your workplace. I've done this a number of times. I'll go to a training and then I'll come back in the office and do a brown bag and train everybody on the essentials of the training. So I went away for a week. I come back and give them an hour a day for a week. And then that built credibility in the office space and made me more likely to get promoted. There are a number of things you can do, but again, you're doing the work one time and you're doing it in such a way that you have the opportunity to generate income passively in many cases, but generate additional income on top of what you already have. Rather than making up for your weaknesses, you're building on your strengths, and you become a recognized expert or a credible leader in the marketplace, and that builds over time. Sustainable wealth comes from a number of factors, but stacking up actions and incomes makes possible the long-term wealth that cannot be taken away, and it actually starts getting a life of its own. Now, I do have other stacking methods that we can talk about, including even how to buy assets, no money down, how to buy things and make it pay for itself, or even how to build out a balanced portfolio. But again, my nose is getting stuffed up, so I'm going to wrap it up. I'm Justin Hitt with Sustainable Wealth Secrets. If you have any questions about this or any program that I cover here, please visit us at www.sustainablewealthsecrets.com. Send in your questions. That means more to me than a like or a subscribe. I want to hear from you. I want to hear about your challenges. I want to hear about opportunities. I want to hear about your feedback on these programs. Have I said something that you've implemented and gotten results? I'm sure there's plenty of things that if you implement it, gets results, but I want to hear about those people that have taken action. I want to hear about how you're cash stacking. Are you even cash stacking at all? And it stacks up quick. It's like building a building, one brick at a time, every brick properly placed with the right cement and the right positioning creates a majestic building and a wonderful long-term asset. Thanks for listening. I'm Justin Hitt with Sustainable Wealth Secrets. Send in your questions to www.sustainablewealthsecrets.com.